Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Michael leaned back in his chair, the soft murmur of the television blending with the rhythmic clicks of Olivia's fingers on her phone. The evening carried a deceptive calm, a veneer of normalcy that failed to mask the unease simmering beneath the surface. Olivia's lips curved into a smile, but her hazel eyes, once a source of comfort and connection, seemed hollow, distant. "Is everything okay?" Michael asked, his voice laced with quiet concern. Olivia glanced up briefly, her smile faltering. "Just tired," she replied, the words casual yet somehow hollow. Michael's stomach tightened. For weeks there had been a growing unease, subtle but persistent. Olivia's late nights at work, the hurried whispers on phone calls that ended when he walked in, and the growing space between them had become impossible to ignore. He tried to convince himself it was all in his head. 7 years of marriage had its ebbs and flows after all. But tonight, the way she clutched her phone and typed with such fervor unsettled him deeply. "Are you sure?" he asked again, leaning forward slightly. Her smile reappeared, thin and unconvincing. "I'm sure. Why don't you head to bed? I'll be up soon." Reluctantly, Michael nodded and climbed the stairs. Lying in bed, his thoughts raced. He couldn't ignore the perfume she'd worn recently, a scent foreign to him, nor the abrupt silences during her phone conversations. He hated the creeping doubts, but they clawed at his mind, refusing to let him rest. The following night, Olivia's demeanor shifted. She approached Michael, her expression serious. "Michael, we need to talk." The words struck him like a thunderclap. He set down his phone, meeting her gaze. "What's going on?" Taking a deep breath, Olivia twisted her hands nervously. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about us," she began. "About us?" Michael repeated, his brow furrowing. "I thought we were okay." "We are," Olivia said softly, her tone cautious. "But I feel like something's missing, like we need to shake things up." Michael leaned back, confusion written across his face. "Shake things up? What does that mean?" Her eyes locked on his, steady but tentative. "I want to sleep with James." The air seemed to freeze. Michael stared at her, his brain scrambling to process the words. "What did you just say?" "I want to sleep with my boss," Olivia said again, her tone measured, deliberate. "And I want you to watch." Michael's world tilted on its axis. A cold, heavy silence filled the space between them. "You can't be serious," he whispered. "I am," she said firmly. "James and I have talked about it. We think it could be transformative for us. It's not about love. It's about exploring boundaries. You've always been more submissive, and he—" Michael shot to his feet, his voice trembling with anger. "Submissive? Are you hearing yourself, Olivia? You think watching you with someone else will fix our marriage?" Olivia stood too, her posture defiant. "I'm asking you to trust me. This could change everything for the better." His hands shook as he interrupted her. "Trust you? How long has this been going on? How long have you been planning this?" Her silence was deafening, an answer louder than words. A bitter laugh escaped Michael. "So, you're telling me you haven't done it yet, but you've been fantasizing, scheming? Do you even hear yourself?" "It's just been talk," Olivia said quickly, taking a step toward him. "Nothing's happened, I swear." Michael recoiled, his heart splintering. "Get out," he said, his voice raw with pain. "I need space. Michael, please, go," he roared. Tears filled Olivia's eyes, but she obeyed, retreating from the room and leaving him alone with the suffocating silence. Hours passed, but Michael's mind refused to quiet. Something about Olivia's words felt rehearsed, calculated. The idea that this was merely a fantasy seemed absurd. Determined to uncover the truth, he waited until her breathing evened out in sleep. Carefully, he reached for her phone on the bedside table. His hands trembled as he unlocked it, fully aware of the boundary he was crossing. But what he found shattered any lingering hope. The messages between Olivia and James were explicit, detailing meetings and encounters that had already occurred. Michael's stomach turned as he read their exchanges. each line more damning than the last. James mocked him openly, calling him weak, while Olivia justified her actions as a way to save their relationship. Then, as if to twist the knife, he saw the final message. "Can't wait to see his face when he watches us." His blood ran cold. The betrayal, the audacity, was beyond anything he could have imagined. Michael set the phone down, his chest heaving as anger and heartbreak collided within him. He stumbled to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face, desperate to steady himself. Staring at his reflection, his jaw clenched. One thought consumed him. This isn't over. Michael's reflection stared back at him from the mirror, pale and broken. But deep within his weary eyes, a spark of determination began to flicker. By the next morning, he realized he couldn't continue living under the same roof as Olivia without taking decisive action. The moment she left for work, Michael grabbed his phone and began his search for Sarah, James's wife. Their exchanges had been fleeting, restricted to company functions, but he remembered her as a kind and poised woman who seemed oblivious to her husband's betrayals. Finding Sarah on Instagram, Michael sent her a direct message. "Hi Sarah, this is Michael. I'm James's husband. We need to talk." Her reply came swiftly. "What about James?" Michael paused, fully aware his next words would disrupt her entire life. At last, he typed, "It's serious. Can we meet?" Less than an hour later, they sat across from one another in a quiet cafe. Sarah arrived with a tense expression, her eyes searching for clarity. Michael wasted no time, laying bare the texts, plans, and lies that had come to light. As Sarah sifted through the damning evidence, tears streamed down her cheeks. "I can't believe this," she murmured, her voice quivering. "I thought we were just going through a rough patch." Michael nodded, his own voice thick with emotion. "I get it. But I'm done being a victim. We need to take back control." Sarah wiped away her tears, and a steely determination replaced her anguish. "Then let's make them pay," she declared. Over the following days, Michael and Sarah worked together to devise a strategy. Initially, their goal was simple, to expose Olivia and James for their infidelity. But as their conversations deepened, Sarah proposed a bolder course of action. "Why stop at exposure?" she suggested, her eyes alight with vengeance. "They wanted us to suffer. Let's make them feel the same." Michael hesitated, uncertain about her intensity. "What exactly are you suggesting?" he asked. Sarah leaned in and detailed her plan. "We'll create a scene they'll never forget. Let them feel what betrayal tastes like." Though reluctant at first, Michael began to understand the appeal. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming their dignity. On the night of their plan, everything was set to perfection. Michael had changed the locks, packed Olivia's belongings, and arranged speakers throughout the house. Sarah arrived brimming with confidence. At precisely 7 p.m., Olivia and James pulled up, expecting a night of illicit thrills. Instead, they were greeted by blasting music and locked doors. From an upstairs window, Michael and Sarah watched as their unfaithful partners became increasingly frantic. Eventually, Olivia and James moved toward the backyard, drawn by a gap in the curtains. Heart pounding, Michael and Sarah stepped into view. Standing close together, they shared a passionate, rehearsed kiss, ensuring Olivia and James could see every moment. Olivia's face turned ghostly pale, her mouth opening in a silent cry of shock. James banged his fists against the glass, his fury evident. With a smirk, Michael pulled Sarah closer before dramatically drawing the curtains, leaving their former partners to grapple with their humiliation. As the chaos outside unfolded, Michael and Sarah remained inside, catching their breath in the tense aftermath. They could hear Olivia and James shouting and pounding on the locked front door. "Should we let them in?" Sarah asked coolly. Michael shook his head. "No, let them sit with their failure. They don't deserve an audience." He pulled out his phone and played a pre-recorded voice message. Moments later, Olivia's phone pinged, breaking the stillness of the night with her desperate pleas. "Michael, please, just talk to me." The message he sent was short and ruthless. "I know everything. Your belongings are packed. Divorce papers will follow. Contact me only through a lawyer." Olivia's sobs filled the air, But Michael remained unmoved, feeling only a hollow satisfaction. He glanced at Sarah, who gave him a silent nod of agreement. It was time to close this chapter. The next morning, Michael confronted Olivia one last time. She sat on the edge of their nearly empty bedroom, her eyes swollen from a night of crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I never meant for it to go this far." Michael's tone was cold and sharp. "You thought humiliating me would fix us? You lied. You destroyed everything we built." Her shoulders shook as she broke down. "I was stupid. I thought it was just excitement, something to reignite our bond. I never wanted to hurt you." Michael's face hardened. "Didn't want to hurt me? Yet you planned to ruin me in the worst way. And now you want forgiveness?" She sobbed harder. "Please, Michael, let's work through this. I'll do anything." But he shook his head firmly. "It's too late. The moment you conspired with James, you killed this marriage. We're done." Meanwhile, Sarah had her own confrontation to face. Meeting James at a lawyer's office, she found him disheveled and desperate. "Sarah, please," he begged, his voice hoarse with regret. "You don't have to do this. We can fix it." Sarah's response was cutting, her resolve unwavering. Fix things? After everything, lying, cheating, and scheming to shatter someone else's marriage for your twisted satisfaction? There's nothing left to salvage. James's gaze darted uneasily between Sarah and her lawyer. The confident facade he wore cracked under the weight of the confrontation. "It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Olivia came on to me. I never wanted it to go this far," he muttered, his voice trembling. Sarah leaned forward, her tone as sharp as a blade. "Every word you spoke to her was calculated. You aimed to crush Michael, to strip him of his worth. Now it's your turn to lose. Your career, your home, your reputation." James's face went pale as the reality of her words set in. Sarah straightened, her expression unwavering. "This is over, James. I'll see you in court." With that, she turned and left, leaving him to reckon with the wreckage he had caused. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Michael found comfort in each other's presence. Their shared pain, born from betrayal, became the foundation of an unexpected connection. One quiet evening, as they sat together on Sarah's porch beneath an endless canopy of stars, the weight of their losses began to feel lighter. "Do you ever think about what's next?" Sarah asked softly, her voice betraying a trace of uncertainty. Michael let out a long breath. "Sometimes. But right now, I'm just grateful to be free of them." A faint smile crossed Sarah's lips, her eyes reflecting a fragile but growing sense of hope. "Me too," she said. As days gave way to nights, their bond deepened. They shared stories, exchanged moments of laughter, and found solace in a mutual understanding of their pain. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. For the first time in what felt like years, Michael began to feel like he could breathe again. Months later, Michael signed the final papers dissolving his marriage to Olivia. As she placed her shaky signature on the documents, tears streamed down her face. "I hope you find the happiness you deserve," Michael said, his voice steady but devoid of warmth. "I'm so sorry, Michael. I'll regret this for the rest of my life," Olivia choked out, her voice breaking. Michael nodded, offering no further response. As he walked away, a sense of liberation washed over him. Outside the courthouse, Sarah was waiting with a gentle smile, and together they walked forward into an uncertain but promising future. For both Sarah and Michael, the journey ahead was unclear. But one thing was certain. They were no longer victims of betrayal. They were survivors, rebuilding their lives piece by piece. Michael moved out of the home he had shared with Olivia, leaving behind its ghosts. Sarah, too, finalized her divorce from James, shedding the weight of their toxic relationship. Together, they began to create something new. Their evenings were filled with quiet conversations, laughter, and a cautious but growing hope. They avoided putting labels on their relationship, but neither could deny the bond between them. One evening, as they shared dinner at Sarah's home, Michael broke the silence. "Do you ever think about us?" he asked carefully. Sarah looked at him, her expression thoughtful but tender. "I do, but it scares me, Michael. After everything we've been through, I don't want to risk losing what we've found. Michael nodded, understanding her hesitation. I feel the same way, but maybe we owe it to ourselves to see where this leads. A tentative smile spread across Sarah's face. Then let's take it slow, one day at a time. Meanwhile, James and Olivia's lives fell apart. Unable to find stable work, James watched as his finances crumbled. He sold his car, moved into a small apartment, and confronted the harsh consequences of his choices. Olivia's situation wasn't much better. She, too, lost her job and found herself burdened by the stigma of her actions. In a moment of desperation, she left Michael a tearful voicemail. Michael, I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know how sorry I am. I made a terrible mistake, and I'll carry this regret forever. I hope you find the happiness I couldn't give you. Michael listened to the message but chose not to respond. His peace was hard-earned, and he had no intention of revisiting the pain of the past. Instead, he and Sarah focused on the life they were building together. They decided to take a trip, a chance to step away from their pasts and look toward the future. At a secluded cabin by a tranquil lake, they found a rare sense of calm. On their first evening, as they sat by a crackling fire, Sarah turned to Michael, her expression soft. I don't think I've ever felt this at peace, she admitted. Michael reached for her hand, his grip steady and reassuring. Neither have I. For the first time in years, we're truly free. They sat together in a quiet harmony, the weight of their shared pain slowly lifting. Months later, standing side by side on the lakeshore, they watched the sunrise, its warm light spreading across the water. We've come so far, Sarah said, her voice filled with quiet pride. Michael smiled faintly. And I couldn't have done it without you. As the sun climbed higher, they knew the road ahead would still hold challenges, but they were ready to face them together. Their journey of healing had turned their pain into strength, and together they embraced the future with hope and resilience. In reclaiming their happiness, they had built something unbreakable. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.